let half the people police the populace. Thank you for joining us, folks. AmericanFreedomRadio.com and all of our great affiliates. I'm Jack Blood, your radio gun. This is a special edition this morning of Deadline Live. It is the 7th day of October, 2009. We're talking today about electronic voting and the recent ruling by the Germans that electronic voting is unconstitutional. Joining us on the program is Kathleen Wynne from handcountedpaperballots.org and Bev Harris from blackboxvoting.org. And we are now joined by Dr. Ulrich Wiesner. Kathleen, I'm going to have you introduce the doctor and begin the interview. And Bev, you jump in as well, and we'll go forward. Go ahead, Kathleen.
Dr. Ulrich and his father filed a lawsuit about a year ago challenging the constitutionality of the legal basis for the deployment of computer-controlled voting machines, and that they did not comply with the principles of democracy and the rule of law. And basically, the German Constitutional Court agreed with their lawsuit and ruled in their favor. And so once that happened, we all jumped up with glee, those of us here in the States who want public counts, and are against the machines for the same reason the German Constitutional Court was against using the machines. So, Dr. Wiesner, we would love for you to talk about the decision. Where is it now? Is it going to stick? Are you going to maintain this ruling, or is it going to bring back, or the machine's going to come back at some point under the guise of being able to publicly count using a machine? If you could just let us know where you guys are at in Germany, we'd love to hear it.
Dr. Wiesner, thank you for joining us. And the question is, what is going to be gained? Will this stick, your ruling? If you could explain your ruling and your approach and what did exactly just happen in Germany. Dr. Wiesner?
Sorry, I can hardly understand you. We seem to have a very bad line. I couldn't understand your question.
Let me try to rephrase it, and if possible, if we have to, we'll hook back up with you and see if we can get a better connection. First of all, welcome to the show, Dr. Wiesner. Can you hear us now?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And we're here with Kathleen Wynne, who you know, and Bev Harris, who have been great activists here in the United States against electronic voting machines. If you can tell us how you arrived at the decision that you came to, what did just happen in Germany, and will it stick?
We have a two-step scrutiny process for elections in Germany, where you can complain about the result of election to the scrutiny committee of the parliament. And in a second step, you can challenge the decision of that committee with the Constitutional Court. And we have gone that way after the 2005 Bundestag election. The Bundestag is the German parliament, and we've gone that scrutiny down that scrutiny route after the 2005 election, where 2 million voters in Germany had to use voting computers to submit their vote. Now, 2 million doesn't sound too much. That's about 5% of the population. But we decided to go to choose that way in an early stage of e-voting before we have e-voting in all cities.
Well, Dr. Wiesner, could you, you had all hand counts in this last election, correct?
Yeah. Last March this year, the Constitutional Court decided that the use of e-voting equipment is unconstitutional because of its deficits in transparency and observability. And we had a nationwide election just 2 weeks ago, and yes, all ballots were hand counted in that election.
How did it go?
That went very well and with no difficulties. Each ballot office has about 1,500 voters, and the voting committees, the local voting committees, take about 1 to 1.5 hours to hand count the votes. So it's not really a long process, and it's done in the public, so anybody who feels a need to do so or is interested can just go to the polling place and observe the counting. So it's a very transparent and decentralized process.
Isn't this what you're trying to achieve all over the country? I mean, you don't really want to continue with voting machines, do you?
Sorry, I couldn't hear the question.
You don't want to continue with voting machines. You want to maintain the public count, don't you, in Germany?
Sorry, I still didn't understand the question. You're cutting off.
Yeah, you guys, now we want to understand, all electronic voting machines, Dr. Wiesner, are now banned? Have they been taken out of the polling places, and will that continue going forward?
Currently, there's no legal basis to use e-voting equipment going forward. The Constitutional Court has not banned e-voting as such. It has stated that if e-voting is used, then anybody has to be able to understand each single step of the voting process in detail without any technical knowledge, and has to be able to observe every crucial step in the polling process and in the counting process. So if all this is taking place inside a machine, then it is obviously not observable. And with the e-voting equipment that's currently, that we had in Germany and that's in the market, everything that I hear about what's available in the U.S., I just can't see how in the near future the requirements of the Constitutional Court can be fulfilled in with a technical approach.
So what you're saying, Doctor, is that if one voter claims that they do not understand the process, then that particular election can be challenged? Doctor? Do we still have him, Daniel? Folks, we're interviewing Dr. Ulrich Wiesner from overseas, so we've got a lot of people here on the program with us, and we might be having some technical difficulties. Dr. Wiesner, are you still with us? My producer just said he'd get him reconnected. But Bev, let's go to you. If you could just kind of interpret what Dr. Wiesner just said here, that though the voting machines have been ruled unconstitutional, I'm trying to understand, are they still using them in some capacity? And if so, as he just explained it, if one voter says they didn't understand the process, does that mean that the election at that point can be debated?
Well, a court cannot rule on a question that's not in front of it, right? So when the German court said we're not ruling on whether electronic voting machines can be used, if they had done anything else than that, they could have called a whole decision into question by ruling on a question that was not before the court. The question before the court was, do votes need to be counted in public? Does the public need to be able to see every essential component of the process without special expertise?